Welcome. Good clap, Ange. I like it. Welcome to the Inner Sanctum, back to the Cell Rising podcast, everybody. How are we today, Sam?
I am splendid.
Splendid.
Yeah, I'm splendid.
Are we allowed to mention the elephant in the room? Like, I'm quarantined, like socially distanced over here in the corner. Like, don't go near that lady.
COVID. You can't
She's
catch
got
it
the
over
vid.
You can't catch
It's like,
it over
the leprosy.
You better not give me the vid. I'll kick your ass.
Mate, it's everywhere. If you're going to get it, it's not from me. I haven't come near you.
Good. Stay over there.
I will. So I'm, hiding in the corner here and you're sitting nice and close to our special guest.
Yes.
So today we are joined by, and we've spoken about this before, you know, coaches need coaching. Everybody needs to be accountable to someone. This is someone that we, the whole team at Salon Rising, are accountable to.
Yes.
And that is the beautiful Ange from Mind Your Grit.
Hello.
Hello.
Thanks for having me.
Oh, thanks for coming.
What a treat.
Thanks for keeping us all sane, Ange. So Ange has worked with all of us in different capacities, some professional, some more personal, which is more the level she works on with you, Sam. Mm-hmm. So do you guys want to discuss a little bit? No, let's go into Ange's story first. So let's talk about, because Ange, you've got a corporate background.
I do, yes.
So let's talk about what was happening in that corporate background that led you to pivot.
Yes. Okay. It's quite a story. So I had a 16-year corporate career before starting Mind Your Grit. So in various areas of HR, leadership, strategy, banking. And in 2022, I had a really bloody tough year. So my year started 3 days after my birthday in February, and I had an incredibly traumatic miscarriage.
Oh.
Yeah. So my husband was away. I mean, the whole thing. I had to get my neighbour to drive me to the hospital. I wasn't allowed to drive. A number of hospital visits later, I threw myself straight back into work. And then 2 weeks after the miscarriage, the Northern Rivers floods happened.
Oh, wow.
And so I live on the Northern Rivers, but more importantly, I was leading a team of business bankers whose clients
We're
were
all,
affected.
of course.
Yeah. So we had people lose their entire livelihood.
Yeah.
All of their businesses, all of their home, friends, family, the whole lot. People lost pets. You know, it was just insane.
Yeah.
And immediately I had to forget whatever had happened to me and focus on them. We had to help them get money again. There was no internet. They had no wallets, cards. They couldn't get access to food.
Yeah.
So, you know, we had to turn our attention immediately to helping them. This was a crisis, a disaster. And so I just went straight into help mode. How can we help them? How can I help my team? I had team members in the Army Reserves out there in boats. Like the boats were up to the power lines.
Yeah, wow.
Our banking office was entirely underwater.
Yeah. Okay.
So I was huddled outside a palm tree in the pouring rain, trying to get that one little bit of internet, trying to advocate for our team and customers back to head office in the bank. So that happened. Another flood happened 1 month after that. So just as we sort of thought we were regrouping, people had cleaned up a lot. And then they just got
That was the
hit
brutal
again.
aspect of that one. It's
Yeah.
like, okay, we're just building our way back to normal again. And that was just the rug coming out from underneath people. It was hideous.
And they had put everything into rebuilding and cleaning to just have to do it again,
Yeah.
you know?
Yeah.
And so for me, I felt like my job as a leader for my team and for the community, you know, as a banking leader, you're a leader in the community, not just for your team.
Yeah.
That's where my focus had to be.
Yeah.
And so we sort of got over that. And then a month later, my husband got diagnosed with a really serious condition and he was could have died. So he was almost in full liver failure.
Wow.
Through an autoimmune condition. And so I was like, oh my God, now I have to focus on this. Like his liver levels were like over 10 times what they should have been.
Whoa.
Is that something that's resolved now or is it an ongoing issue?
It'll be ongoing, but he is in good level now. Which is good. You know, he lives a normal life now.
And was that like an autoimmune condition that you knew he had or was it like out of the blue?
It came out of the blue.
Oh, wow. Okay.
He got very sick and I could tell, but we couldn't figure out what it was. And then finally we pushed hard enough to get an outcome. And then when we got that outcome, so your liver levels should be about 40 and his were 1,300. So it was like...
That's extreme.
Extreme.
Wow.
Absolutely extreme. So then my attention turned to focusing on him because I was like, oh my God, you know what men are like. I mean, not all men, not to generalise, but...
Generalise away.
You know...
Oh, yeah.
not as focused on his health as what we would, focus on. He's like, I'm fine, I'll be fine. I'm like, you're actually not fine. And then I just threw myself into work. I was like, okay, well, I've just got to focus on work. Meanwhile, I hadn't dealt with the miscarriage. I hadn't dealt with the trauma of the floods and seeing the things that you see through that.
Yeah.
And then Liam. And so probably about September, I was in a client meeting and I was getting really bad anxiety in general, but I was in a client meeting and we were sort of upstairs in this shed and it was hot as hell. And I just felt the walls cave in around me. And I was like, I am going to pass out. Like, I do not know what's happening. I feel like I'm going to fall down the stairs. So I had to excuse myself from the meeting. One of my team was there. And I was driving home on the M1 and I thought I was having a heart attack. Like, I thought immediately, I'm having a stroke or a heart attack. I don't know what's going to happen. So I pulled over on the side of the road in the bank, Prado, and it's just shaking as trucks are flying past. I was just on the verge.
Gosh,
I was like, I've just got to get off the road. I can't I can't breathe. I can't see. I need to pull over. So I called my husband and he just calmed me. He's very calming, calmed me down. And it was a panic attack, a super serious panic attack. And that was just from my nervous system being like, listen, lady, you have not taken care of yourself.
Yeah.
At all this year, and you've pushed and pushed and pushed and you haven't listened to any of the symptoms and signs.
And if you're not going to listen, we're going to scream at you.
That's right.
Yeah.
That's exactly what happened. And that was a really big wake-up call for me. And then I'm such an A-type personality. I was like, well, what the hell's happening? What does the brain
And
do?
how do I fix it?
How do I just grab it and fix it and get rid of it, And so at that point I thought, well, I'm just going to study psychology. I need to understand what's going on here. And so I signed up to study my master's in psychology and then very quickly thought, oh, shit, how am I going to study 20 to 30 hours a week?
Now I've also added all of this to my plate.
Exactly.
Let's just add a degree.
I'm like, oh, no, 60 hours of banking, 20, 30 hours of study, and I also run a boutique Pilates studio, so there's about 20 to 30 hours there. And
So what it means is she never slept again.
Yeah,
Yep.
she just worked 24/7. No, I quit my job in the bank. And that was really hard for me. So much of my identity was tied to what I did in the bank.
Isn't that a funny thing that we as women do, is that whole tying your identity to your career, where your identity, that your career is not who you are, but it's a really common
Because I think it's
trend.
one of those things when someone go, and I do it all the time, I'm like, what do you do for work? Because it does you do get an insight into somebody with what they do. But it's so often that we make that, our whole identity.
Yeah.
What do you do? Instead of like, who are you? But then you ask, so who are you? And people are like, I don't fucking know. Who am I?
Yeah.
I'm not actually sure who that person is.
Yeah, it's very interesting. And I think in particular because we don't have kids, so my identity is not wrapped up in being a mum either.
Yeah.
So it was like twofold into work, Yeah. And so that was a whole big thing to unpack. But what I knew was that I wanted to help people thrive in business, in work, and I wanted to help teach them ways that they can build a wellbeing buffer so that even when tough things happen, right? Looking after your wellbeing doesn't mean you're not going to have a miscarriage or you're not going to have bad things happen, but it means you've got this wellbeing buffer around you so that you don't end up like me, huddled in the side of the road in a car with the car shaking and
Thinking you're having a heart attack. Yeah.
And if you don't want to answer these
I'm an
type of
open
things,
book.
okay,
You go.
feel free to be like, nope, shut it down, because we talk a lot on here about the whole journey. It's like, motherhood and stuff like that. So your miscarriage was pretty horrific, and you'd been trying for kids.
Yes,
And-
maybe like 5 years.
Wow.
Yeah.
So it wasn't just like when you say a miscarriage, it was the whole back to it as well. So, and I know processing a miscarriage is fucking hideous.
Yes.
But then you had the whole, you were unwell, and then you had the miscarriage, and then everything that went with it as well. So it wasn't just I just had a miscarriage at a couple of weeks. It was pretty horrendous.
Yeah, absolutely. And there was, I had to keep going back to the hospital. There was physical stuff that went along with that. But I have to say the mental stuff was the stuff that I just never, I never accounted for impacting me as much as it did.
Yeah.
Can I ask, and if you're not comfortable to answer, it's okay, but how far along you were in your pregnancy?
I was 11 or 12 weeks, just at that sort of, just when you're about to
be
tell
fine.
people.
Yeah.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah.
And that's for anyone that's listening to this and they know, like, you know, it's hard enough when it's 4 or 5 weeks, but as you get to, I think I was 10. So as you get to that 10, 11, like you're just planning for so long and you just never assume that. And also 5 years of trying.
Yeah. And you start at that point to your identity starts to shift to be like, oh, I'm going to be, you plan for it. I'm going to be a mum. What does this mean for work? What does this mean for
what things going to look like? Yes.
Everything. So you start to really tie yourself to that idea.
Agreed.
So yes, it certainly took me.
And the joy of getting pregnant after 5 years.
Yes. Exactly. Because I was like, oh, this is just it's not going to happen. Like I just thought it wasn't. So there was a lot of mental stuff to process as well.
Yeah. Do you feel like once you finished working, did you then feel like that all of a sudden hit you like a ton of bricks, all of those unprocessed emotions? Yeah, okay.
Absolutely, because I did not deal with them at all. Yeah. Like I'm such like, it's fine, everything's fine, don't worry.
Oh, God, I've got no idea what that's like.
Guys, let's just push on. That's what I used to be like.
Yeah.
And that's just how I got through corporate. I was like a machine, like just, focused on performance.
But it's incredible how us as women for a while there, and I can completely relate to this, kind of made ourselves machines. I don't feel like that
I think it was that it was that whole idea that we had to prove something. I felt for me not necessarily for everyone, but I had to prove that I was invincible.
Yeah,
yes.
Me too. I look at it now in the same way. Like I miscarried at work and then had a staff meeting.
Samara.
I was just like, let's just keep moving.
Yeah.
But you just go, and it wasn't, again, like me, I think it was 8 weeks later, I got the first period after having a miscarriage, and I was like a mess because, and again, I still got up and I went to work and looked after 8 clients and 7 of them told me we were pregnant that day.
Yeah.
So it's like, the universe is like, you should be stopping, you should be taking, you
need to actually address this.
But then we don't know how to, and like we're like, no, we're machines. We keep working.
Yeah.
We keep pushing forward.
Yeah.
And realizing that way of processing and doing things is not going to give us what we need.
Absolutely. Yeah. And I mean, this is a bit of a turn, but also I had the expectation on myself. I have to show up to every one of my friends' kids' birthdays.
Yeah.
I have to show up.
Yeah.
And be so happy for my friends when they're and it's not that I wasn't happy for them that when they were pregnant.
But
I didn't want to celebrate their kids.
No.
But when
it just highlighted your hurt. Yes.
It actually is really bloody hard. And I don't think anyone talks about that.
No, one does. I agree. I completely and then we feel like we have to do it and they're like, no, it's fine. But then you're like, no, but it's like every time it's like, that day that I just person after person after person, I was like, I'm going to blow my brains out today. Like this is too much. But it was like the universe showing me like, you should have had the day off, dude.
And not been here.
You're so overwhelmed. Like you're not meant to be at work right now. Like you should be taking care of yourself like you would expect one of your staff members to if they were feeling that low. But we don't know how to do that.
Well, and we put so much pressure on ourselves to
Yes.
think that success and performance is when we are working and at work and performing, and not thinking about that actually success and performance is improved when we look after ourselves.
Agreed.
And I think there's just a narrative that needs to shift
agreed.
there.
This
is a narrative that I have been telling myself for a very, very long time.
What would have the success been at that point? The success would have been dealing with my emotions so that I could eventually help other people. You know what I mean? But it takes big things to happen that you go, holy fuck. Yeah. And then processing moving forward, you aren't going to have kids now.
That's right, yes. We've made the decision to live our lives and be the fun auntie and uncle.
Love that.
Excellent.
And feel really good about that now. But it took a long time, and going to see a psychologist and processing what I was thinking. And just want to live our lives.
Yes.
You know, like our plans to retire in Italy in 10 years, and we've got some really exciting things ahead. And I think studying psychology helped me to process it a lot too, because there's a part of psychology that you study that is the lifespan of human development. So from conception all the way through to death. And a large reason why people choose to have children is to leave a legacy.
Yep.
And so I was like, okay, if I don't have that, what's my legacy going to be?
Yep.
And a big part of that is teaching people how to thrive well.
Absolutely.
Leave that legacy, then I feel like that's a life well lived.
I love that.
Yeah.
And again, you had to, if you were still in corporate, you wouldn't have processed any of this.
No, none
You
of
probably
it.
would have gone through eventually some deep felt like a deep loss or deep depression because of the fact that you didn't and then it didn't work. And like how many couples do you see get to that point and then they go their separate ways because it's just so hard. And so the fact that you were so proactive and were like, okay, it worked in your favour. What the fuck am I going to do now and how I'm going to pivot? And as you said, the reason why it's so easy for you to move forward and be like, I'm just going to be the fun auntie and I'm going to retire in Italy is because you have processed it to a point where you're like, oh, I'm good now going to baby showers and, you know, I'm good when people get pregnant because I'm like, yep, YOLO, I'll see you in Italy. Like, you know, like but that's pretty powerful because a lot of people don't get to that point.
Absolutely.
When you went into that, was that something like after this trauma, was that something that you immediately thought or was that through that counselling process that you went through that you came to that point where you're like, actually, maybe this is not the path for me. Maybe I want to pivot. Like, were you already feeling that?
No, I think it was the counselling process. Liam, my husband, is an amazing communicator and I'm very lucky about that. And we really sat down and I think the real penny drop for me was in studying that psychology subject. Around, oh my gosh, okay, so if my purpose is not to rear a child or, you know, part of my legacy is not that, having another legacy or purpose is what really helped me rationalise that. And then Liam and I also had a conversation around what is our ideal life and what do we want life to look like for us? You know, how are we going to continue forward and really just live and have fun and enjoy life? And we just made that decision. You know, we made it together and we feel really comfortable in that decision.
And with Liam's health, does that impact like your future plans and stuff as well? Like with staying on top of his liver stuff? Like
not too much. It's in what they say, it's in remission now.
Yep.
So essentially he'll, like, unless that's, I don't know, something can happen, but he's sort of will be on immune suppressants for the rest of his life, they say, unless, you know, medicine's amazing. You don't know what's
you don't
be developed. But yeah, he can live a pretty normal life now. Yeah.
Amazing.
I think that's really powerful even in itself to go, I think generally big shit has to happen for you to completely evaluate. Like, and it sucks that it has to be like that. But I think there's people that are in this world, you and I are both coaches, that are trying to shift that so that people make moves now and stop for the crashes.
Yeah.
But it does get some, like for you and I, it became big crashes before things could be rebuilt, you know, before, you know, I'm a completely different person to who I was 7 months ago. And it took those big crashes, those big hard things to reevaluate because as you said that then when it goes from birth to death, I think so often we go, all right, we grow up and then we get in a relationship and we get engaged and we get married and we have kids and then we raise kids and then we do it through work and we build our careers and then we buy the house and we get the bigger house and we get the bigger house and you know, get the bigger car and it just, for me, leaving the marriage, it all of a sudden dawned on me that what the fuck am I doing? Like, why does life have to feel like this progression of I do this and I do this because it's done that way? And for me now it's completely flipped on its head where I'm like, the most important thing is happiness and joy.
Absolutely.
You know, so what is going to make me the most happiest? And I'm renting now and I've never been happier in my life, but I've owned a house since I was 19 years old. And it's just like we get so caught
But
up
that
in
ties into that success story as well, right?
I will look 100%. I will look successful. That has been a huge, huge, huge thing for me this year is realising I wanted to look successful. The same thing we said with salons when they go from 1 to 2 to 3. Like, at what number of staff do you feel like your salon is successful? And I just was like, I got to the point where I was just like, that idea of success, which comes with corporate too, of this is, you know, going to be in this job and then we're going to have kids and this is what life is going to look like. That idea of success, who is it actually benefiting other than you? So can you sit down and have a conversation with the person that you're with and be like, what the fuck do we actually want life to look like?
Do you know what's so interesting? Liam and I have this conversation a lot and, you know, I think a lot of people don't ask themselves these questions.
No, they don't.
I know.
It's a rite of passage.
Yes.
And we, you know, have the privilege, I guess, that we did have that conversation.
Yeah.
What do we really want from here on out?
Yeah.
And I don't think a lot of people have that conversation.
Yeah.
They do it because it's the next step in our evolutionary journey of what society says we should do. But I think it's the same in business. You know, I've worked with hundreds of thousands of small businesses in banking, and you see it, they grow and grow and grow and grow. And what often happens is they grow because that's what you think you should do.
Yeah. But then they lose their passion for it because it's not what they actually loved in the first place.
So what I used to see a lot was they would grow. The profit margin actually wouldn't grow.
No.
Like the revenue line would grow, but the profit wouldn't grow.
Does. Yeah.
Because the expenses grow with the bigger business. They would sell the business and go back to doing what they were doing at the start.
Yeah.
And I see it a lot because they didn't have a check-in point with themselves along the way that said, what do I actually want? Why did I start my business and what do I want?
Yep.
And so I think same in life, same in wellbeing. It's a big part of, you know, the circle that I do. That's a check-in point with yourself.
Yeah.
How am I? Where do I go from here? What do I do? I don't know that we check in with ourselves enough in business, in life, in
Agreed.
You know, in all
and
facets.
I actually, funny enough, was having this conversation. So I had the last of Rising 2024 today. And I was like, look at the different areas in your life. So business, you know, finances, family, relationships, health, all of the different things. And it's the end of 2024. How do you actually want to feel? Like, so I said, if it's in business, if it's peace, or if in business it's for like wealth, then that's what you build towards. Like that's what you're building your blocks off. Absolutely. This is what I want. And I said, it's just like weight loss. If you decide you want to lose 5 kilos, you flip everything to be able to do that. You know, you drink more water, you eat better, you exercise, and then you can see those kilos coming off. It's the same thing. If you work towards the words that you want and pivot your life in those ways, in those aspects. Okay, well, this year I want to build wealth in my business. It's like, okay, what do you have to do to that? Maybe you do a program, you know, a finance program where maybe you listen to lots of finance pods. Maybe you see a financial planner and an accountant and change things up. That's where your focus is going to be, rather than going, I don't actually know where I want to go and I don't know how I want to pivot or change.
Yeah. And rather than just going through the motions, be purposeful.
Yes.
You know, in whatever that direction
purpose,
that is.
That purposeful, I think, is so important. It's how, if you know, the other day, for example, it was like on Friday, I went down to the creek. We had to swim. Like, it was just like such a beautiful day. Got up, went for a walk, you know, and it was just like this, exactly this, had breakfast. This is how I want to live my life.
Yeah.
I want to live my life in these moments, not waiting to, you know, go, bust your ass and then go on holidays. Like, I want to live every day. And I've always said that. And I feel like I did that to a point last year, especially the last 6 months. But very much I want to live my life like the week between Christmas and New Year's, when you don't know what day it is and you just are in ultimate joy.
Yeah.
Like, and that's so many people. And I wish it didn't take me till 36 to realise this. Like, I wish I'd done this younger, because it really is the difference of life. And sometimes, unfortunately, other things have to fall away.
Yep.
You know, the idea of having children, you know, husbands, marriages, like sometimes things have to fall away.
I've always been a big advocate for that, though. I mean, we've got a dear friend that we've had forever who owns a salon as well. And I have always said, it's like, you don't want children. Don't listen to people.
Yeah.
It's okay. Like, you don't want them.
Yeah.
That does not align with your values and your trajectory in life, and that's okay.
Yeah.
You don't have to. I still remember my mother-in-law saying that we weren't allowed to have, we couldn't have an engagement party because I didn't want an engagement ring. So you couldn't do that. And, you know, just all these ideas that people have that there's rules. It's like, you can do whatever you want.
It's like Sex and the City when she has her own apartment and people are like, should you do that? It's like, but that's a good time.
Yeah,
like
it is.
You know, it's build your life how you want to build it. And I think the more we start to tear this down, the more people will just start living what they want to live instead of feeling like they have to do things in a certain, like, it comes into business as well, right? You don't want to work Saturdays? Don't.
Yeah.
You want to work 4 days a week? Cool, do it. You only want to work mornings? Cool. Like, build your business around what you want, which is something that I'm such an advocate for.
Yeah. And then your clients will come.
Yeah, exactly right. So speaking of building businesses, so when did you start to build Mind Your Grit?
So I started to build it probably halfway through last year.
And how would you explain to someone what you do?
So I help people thrive.
Yeah, you do.
At home and at work. You know, that's ultimately it in a nutshell. So basically what I teach is how to build a wellbeing buffer, as I call it, so that when life gets tough and things sometimes are hard, they just hit you a little less like a bullet train.
Yeah.
We can deal with things a little better. We can respond rather than react. We can keep driving the car and not feel like we have to pull over on the side of the road because we're having a heart attack.
Yeah.
So it's about giving people the tools that are science-backed. So these are the things that come up in science time and time again. And it's not about doing more and more and more. You know, you see those people with those like 50-step morning routines.
Oh, no,
do they have
not
time to do
interested.
this?
Yeah.
No. It's about replacing what you're currently doing with something that will just optimize your well-being. Even that 1 or 2%, that makes a big difference to building a buffer around your well-being.
Oh, absolutely. 1 or 2% in all areas is a big buffer.
And consistently, right? 1
Yeah.
or 2% every day in all areas, you will feel like a different person in 3 to 6 months.
Yeah. Agreed.
So with your masters that you're doing, will that just be something that enhances the work that you do within that? Like it's not something you want to go into practice for or anything like that?
No, I don't want to go into one-on-one practice. I
Yep.
feel like my calling is to use my experience in business
Yes.
to help people in the business space.
Yeah.
You know, so whether that's a corporate, whether it's someone who is a single person running their own business, I understand business so wholeheartedly because I've been on both sides of it, having run a business but also helping people build their businesses from a banking perspective, that the reason I'm doing it is just to learn the science. I think it's such a gift to be able to learn through, whether it's through coaches, whether it's through, you know, listening to podcasts, whatever it is. But I'm a real believer in understanding the science and also being able to discern the science. So for me, you know, there's a lot of studies out there. It's trying to understand what is valid and what's not so that when I'm teaching people that it's valid.
Because you can basically find a study that says anything that you want it to say.
Yes.
Yes.
So it's understanding like the quality and, you know, what that was measured at and yeah.
And I think so Ange has done work with me in Salon Rising and La Sorella. So in Salon Rising, we had a big planning day and we looked at how we can like optimize ourselves better so that we can be better in the business. But then it also went into business stuff on where we want to build with Salon Rising and stuff like that. And the funniest thing is we got to the end and Ange was like, okay, this is the next task. And I was just like sitting there staring out at and I was like, I'm done. And Andrew's like, what? I'm like, I'm done. I'm like, I don't want to do any of this shit you're doing right now. And Andrew's like, okay. Like I was like, because that's not my area of expertise. And that was the coolest thing too, was Andrew's like, all right, we're pivoting. Let's do this. Let's think about this. And really coolly knew how my brain was working. So she was like, yeah, and I was like, can you please organise another day with Jen and Rich because I'm zoned out completely. And you were like, of course I can. And because I think that's the important thing in business as well, is knowing where your
Strengths are. Yeah.
And knowing how to move forward in your business and knowing that I was like, I'm okay to say I'm tapped out and I don't want to do this. Because Jen and Rich and I obviously all work very, we're different people. We work differently. Yeah. And sometimes Rich will say things and I'll be like, I don't want to go, I don't want to do that. But then our business pivots in a way that it makes sense.
Yeah.
And we've had that happen this week.
Sometimes it's just in the delivery too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I'm just like, I don't want to talk about this anymore. So it's good having somebody that can see those strengths and go this is your strength, but these are your weaknesses and this is how you want to work as well. But then you also did stuff with me with La Sorella as well. So you came to our Christmas party and did some wellness stuff. And it's really something that I'm focused on. I just spoke about this in a call. Last year was very much about leadership in La Sorella. And I learnt this from a coach. My coach that I had last year was very much about leadership, how my team can self-lead, how I can lead myself better, how I can lead my life better, how I'm showing up. And it wasn't directly from that, but it was just those things I realised I learnt. And then with doing stuff with you, it's this year I've realised with my team it's really strongly on whole human, which it always has been, but I'm teaching them to resource themselves better so that they can be better resourced at work. So when things happen, they feel on top of it and resourced. So that's my focus this year. So I think the importance is working with different coaches that provide different things, because at the end of the day, everyone has a different spin on it, and you take pieces from that and feel so different as well.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think what we did with you guys that was really cool is the VIA strengths.
Yes.
as
Yeah,
well.
absolutely.
So, you know, this is based on positive psychology and focusing more on your strengths rather than your weaknesses.
So we asked, do you want to explain that so people know what that is?
Absolutely. So it's a survey that anyone can do. So, you know, if you're listening to this, maybe we'll put the link.
Yeah,
in
we'll put the
the
link on
show
it.
Notes, where you can go on and do a free assessment of your strengths, and it will show you of 24 strengths, sort of what your top. It'll show you all 24 ranked. But essentially what it does is it shows you what your strengths are in life and in business, you know, and it's about doubling down on your strengths, you know. So if those are your top 5, you know, kindness or leadership, or how do you double down on those to make sure that you're feeling like you're engaged in what you're doing? Of course, being aware of the ones that are at the bottom. You know, if you're doing a job, you're a leader and leadership's at the bottom, we might have some work to do, you know, but it's an awareness piece around where are my strengths at. And what we did with you guys was map them to see where they overlap.
Yeah.
which was
And did we
amazing.
have any gaps that needed filling with that map?
2 that overlapped, didn't we? All of us?
We each had, so we all had like one that overlapped
Yeah.
the whole way. So we connected the whole way round.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then you solidified your values off the back of that,
Yes.
which was amazing. You know,
Yeah.
you already knew them, but it really honed into what your values are off the back of that. And so I think it's great for anyone to do. Anyone who has a business, a team, you can run it with your team,
Yeah.
you know, and understand where your team's strengths are so that you can also get them to do different things, whether it's in a salon or a business.
Yeah.
And say, okay, that's your strength. Then I'm going to get you to take on this part of, you know, leading in the salon or.
And I think you hit the nail. So that's something that I believe so strongly in is values across every area of your business. So,
100%.
Every area of your life, sorry. So like we spoke on like love languages last week and how that definitely is incorporated with every relationship. I think values is the same thing. It's, you know, in your business, what are the values in the business? Because we do that a lot in our business. It's something I'm really focused on. And if something's happening, it's like, does this align to our values? How are we going with our value system? Is you know, this staff member the right person? Are they aligning to our values? Because we've had that before where they haven't aligned.
Yeah.
And same thing, if you get into a new relationship, like, are you, you know, what type of relationship is it? Do you feel strong enough to be like, here's a values chart, decide what your values are?
Yeah.
And
Absolutely.
do your values align with my values? Like,
Yeah.
are you like, and it's, you know, friendships or, you know, whatever it is, like, what are your values and what are mine? Are we aligning or are we not aligning? Like,
Yeah.
because I think if they are disaligned, I don't know how anybody, like, and your values can change 100%.
Of course, yeah.
But if your values really disalign, that's when you're getting the full disconnect and it doesn't work.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I think values align. And the thing is, when your values are aligned, you can still disagree and move
Yes.
forward.
Yes.
Yes,
Because you're
exactly
coming at it from
right.
the same values base.
Yes.
But if they're misaligned and you're disagreeing, it
Yeah.
becomes really challenging.
Yeah. And I think, you know, you can look at over it with different things in your life.
Yep.
Different relationships. I look at my values now and of course in the end my marriage didn't work. Our values were different in some areas. Some areas no, but some areas too. Like one of my top values is communication.
Yeah.
Like, and connection, you know, so
Yeah.
they're 2 of my very,
Yeah.
very, very top values. And so no wonder you feel a disconnect because it's like hard to get that.
But as you said, values can change. And I think that's the nice thing that you really highlighted with the strengths as well, Ange, was that your strengths can change.
Yeah.
So
Yeah,
if
they're
you
not
look
fixed.
at that
Yeah.
and it's like, okay, well, I was really hoping this would be higher, you can move
Yes.
Yeah.
to do that. There are steps that you can do.
Yeah.
This isn't just who you are and that's the mold and you can't change.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's not fixed, you know.
Yeah.
It's not like, I don't know, your star sign's an Aquarius and that's what your star sign. You can change your strengths over time. And what people often see is if they're in different roles or different jobs or they
Yeah.
become a mother or a father,
Yeah.
strengths change over time based
Yeah.
on where you're at in your life. But
Yeah.
that's the beautiful thing is if you say, I want to be a leader, but leadership's a low strength, okay, what are we going to do to give you the exposure and experience in that so that you can build that? So it's
Yeah.
really an awareness piece. And that's why I always say at the start of strength sessions, don't judge what comes up.
Yeah.
Just observe.
Yeah.
You know, don't add a layer of judgment to it. And you can change them over time.
Yeah.
By working on them.
And as you said, when we did them, I remember, Sam, you're like, if I had done this a week ago, this would be a very different, like, it's
Yeah,
just,
so
like, it's
different,
very
because I was
reflective
really
of who
a
you
week-
are and what's happening
yeah.
at the time.
A week before I was in my boots.
Yeah.
And then the following week I was like, jolly. So I did it when I was jolly and I was like, oh, I'm killing it. But probably the week before I would have like, Ange would have been like, unconcerned.
We've got a problem.
Yeah.
No, luckily. Yeah. But building the strengths and the values is really valuable. But you also work on strategy and stuff with people too, right?
Yeah, absolutely. So in the bank, I led prior to frontline teams, a design thinking team and an innovation team. So we worked a lot on strategy and working on strategy with businesses. So design thinking is a great format because it gets you out of your thinking brain and into your creative brain. You know, we get Post-it notes and really get you to think big picture. To create a strategy and ask why a lot, probably an annoying amount. But it just helps get people up into the blue sky and out of their day-to-day doing, which is
so interesting from the brain perspective because you're such a creative, yet when we went into doing that side of things, you're just like, ooh, and the lights are off, whereas Richard and I are like, yes, pass me the Post-its. Yeah, we are doing this.
I was like, I was just like, I don't want to. I did do Post-its.
You did the Post-its, and then when we came to, okay, how are we going to implement it?
It was not. It was I got excited about the other one. Yeah. I had 10 done like that.
Yeah.
I was like, I can big sky think. And then you were like, how are we implementing this? And I was like,
we can't ever do it by.
Yeah. I was like, you implement it. Tell me how to do it.
Yeah.
I'll just do it. Yeah. I'm the doer.
You tell me.
You tell me what to do. And we definitely got to that point. So then Ange and I worked together privately for a couple of months because I was just like, can you tell me what to do? I can't make any more decisions.
I'm done.
Tell me what to do. Yeah, I was like, tell me what to do. And she did. We'd just have a call and you just tell me what to do. Because I think one of the hard things about being a mum and a business owner and wearing all the hats is I'm fucking tired of making decisions. I'm really tired. I'm so tired. I don't want to make any more I'm just like tapped out. I remember when I was picking out my new washing machine and dryer as I was moving and I was already in my boots, I went with my sister and she just looked at me and I was like, I can't make any choices. She was like, you tapped out. And I was like, here's my card. And I just was like, walked around. Like we get to that point where we're so tired and so done with making the decisions that sometimes we just need someone else to take over.
Yeah.
Someone else just tell me what to do so I don't have to do it myself.
Yeah. And we used the Wellbeing wheel for that.
Yes.
So we used those 5 elements and just figured out what was going on in each of them.
Yeah.
And then I told you what to do.
It was so good. I love being told what to do.
Would it be accurate, though, to say that if you're well-resourced in those wellbeing aspects, that you will then be better able to make decisions and not feel overwhelmed?
Habitual rather than things that you have to think about, you know? It becomes
habitual. Man, I've never, ever in my life drunk the amount of water that I drink. And it's just it's a habit now.
Yeah.
Because I made myself drink 2 litres a day. That now it's just a habit. And if I don't, I'm like, oh my God, what disgusting.
I'm so dehydrated.
Yeah. I'm like shriveling. But Jen, do you want to share your experience? Because you've been absolutely ridiculous since we had that thing with Ange.
What do you mean?
Your circles.
My circles?
On the wheel.
No, you completing every day.
Oh, yeah. But I was on that path, like Ange just solidified that for me. Mm-hmm. But it's those little incremental pieces and just solid, proper solid. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
That it's now a habit for you.
Oh, yeah, everything's... Actually, we were saying it was funny because we did a workshop where we had to do ice baths, but because I've been having like a 4-minute cold shower every day for like 4 months... I'm just sitting in the ice bath like, yeah, this is cool. And everyone's like crying and shaking. I'm like, this is awesome. I don't feel this at all.
It's because you've been doing hard things, Jen.
Oh, see, I was having this whole conversation with my mother, hi Mum, about neuroplasticity and how you just need to do hard things because if you complete hard things, then your brain understands that you can do hard things and therefore your response is different.
I definitely think that this is so true in every area of life. Like you think about people right now, we've got finances, like you do finances. And everyone's just like, no, I'm not fucking doing that because I don't know how to do finances and it scares me. And you do it and you're like, oh, that was actually friggin' simple. I could do that. It's like anything.
Yeah.
You go, I could never do that. And you do it and you're like, no, it's actually pretty easy.
But further than that, every time you do it, when you do something like that, you're like, oh no, I've done something I thought I couldn't do before.
Yeah.
I can do it again.
Yes.
And so it just keeps reinstilling. So there's something really cool that some new research, and I don't want to go too sciencey, but there's some new research that's come out. It's a part of your brain called the anterior mid-cingulate cortex, and it grows every time you do something that's hard that you don't want to do.
Oh, see, I love
You're
that.
literally growing your brain, and that part of your brain is responsible for willpower and motivation.
Shit.
Yeah.
How cool is that? Every time you do something you don't want to do, the part of your brain that's responsible for willpower and motivation grows.
I was like, what hard thing can I do today?
But what a great mindset shift. You're like, okay, how can I get my brain to literally grow today?
Yeah.
I'm so into growing my brain.
What hard thing can we do today, Jen? I love this. This is the best.
Mate, I did a hard thing. I got up and came to record a podcast. I got the vid.
You did do a hard thing.
Yeah.
That's cool.
Yeah.
That's a cool little fact. So I remind myself that every time I'm going to do something that I don't want to do. I was saying this the other day, even with movement, you know, I don't love going to the gym and lifting weights.
Yeah.
Because someone said to me, how are you so motivated all the time? You're always going to the gym. You're doing all this.
I don't think it's motivation, it's discipline.
I'm not motivated. I do not like going to the gym sometimes, often. But I know that, number one, I'm growing my brain. I tell myself, I'm like, I'm growing my brain, I'm growing my brain, I'm growing my brain. And it's helping me age well, you know? Like it's the long-term gain over the short-term
It's so
pain.
funny. This morning I walked downstairs this afternoon before coming here and I hadn't eaten because I got home from school drop-off and I was so excited to eat my sourdough and it was mouldy.
Oh, no.
You know, pick it up. I was
No.
Dad, make me more bread. Like, I was so sad. And then I was like, fuck it, I've got to go to work. So I walked down. I can't lie, I ate 2 pieces of Rocky Road when I got here. But I walked downstairs and I went to pick up a muffin and I was like, future me won't thank me for that. And I went and picked up a banana and I ate a banana.
I love that.
So it's so true. It's, you know, making decisions that your future you is going to be grateful for rather than being in the moment and being like, YOLO. I did Rocky Road when I got here and it was worth it. But still, like, how can I, you know, right now, do I want to get on the treadmill? Probably not. But will I be grateful for it? Yes. Later?
Yeah.
Absolutely. Like when I put my shorts on and they fit really nicely, I'm totally going to be grateful for that. And my body's going to feel better.
Yeah. And your brain as
my
well.
brain.
Yeah, your brain definitely feels better.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
I am all for that.
It is absolutely no secret that I have always loved the Kevin Murphy products as they are just so beautiful. When we opened my new space 3 years ago, I knew I had to get Kevin Murphy retail range in and everybody loved it. Recently, I have made the decision to change to Kevin Murphy Colour and take on the Colour Me range. We had already been using the lighteners in salon for some time and loving them, so this just felt like a really natural step to go all in with Kevin Murphy. The driving force to change was actually led by my team, and we were all ready for something new. This change has honestly been one of the greatest moves I have made for my business. The onboarding process was so seamless, and we have felt so supported by our rep and our tech support, and the results that we are getting are amazing. The condition these colours provide is truly exceptional, and my team is loving it, and so are our clients. If you have been thinking about making the move, or if you're just interested in what Ozday and Kevin Murphy have to offer, then please click on the link in our show notes and reach out. You will not be disappointed.
Okay, we just had to take a little pause there, just a little snack break. And I just wanted to segue back in before we start talking about one of Ange's other little avenues that she has, because she's a woman with many hats. So looking back now, Ange, do you think, because I'm really interested, because I feel like I'm changing my mind on this, do you think it is possible to keep moving and process trauma, or do you think that is something that requires a pause? Like looking back on that situation, do you think there is a way to process those things that you went through without stopping?
Yes, I do.
Yes.
I think that you
So
can.
it's not necessarily the not stopping, it's the not addressing. Yeah.
Yes, I don't think it's the not
Agreed.
stopping. I think it's the burying my head in the sand and ploughing forward.
Yeah.
Like it
And
never
not giving
happened.
yourself any space. Like, you know, when you're like, I actually shouldn't have done that today. I should have listened to my body and ignored it.
Yeah.
It's
and
about
not giving yourself the grace.
Yeah.
Like if I was not switched on at work, I'd get annoyed at myself. I'm like, what the hell's wrong with me? I'm a high performer. Why am I not focusing today? And rather than thinking, well, hold on a minute, sis, like you've just had a bit of a rough time, I would berate myself more, which was just making it worse. So,
Yeah,
yes.
okay.
I think you can definitely move forward.
Agreed.
You just have to acknowledge.
You just have to acknowledge as you're moving.
And I
So-
also think that I think the wellbeing steps you can put in place, because I think once your wellbeing starts to increase,
Yeah.
yeah.
you can start to move again. Whereas I felt very stagnant. When I get stagnant like that, I'm like, or I feel overwhelmed, I'm like, okay, what can I move
Yeah.
in other areas that will help me move forward? So in my health, how can I be better? In my
Yep.
sleep, how can I be better? Like, as you said, chart, how can my sleep be better? How can my mindfulness be a bit better?
Absolutely.
And I feel like as you start, even a couple of days into it, you start, because, again, we all fucking hate exercise. Well, anyone that loves it, don't listen to my podcast. No, I'm kidding. But the more I'm on my walking mat, the better I feel. Like, processing my emotions is massive through walking.
Yeah.
We know that. And, I've gotten on calls where I didn't think I'd get through them, and because I was able to walk, we were able to move through it. So I
It
completely...
also releases the happy hormone. When
Yeah.
you walk,
Yeah.
So we're helping ourselves in more ways than one.
Yes.
And I'm a believer in when you physically move your body, you physically are moving emotion.
Yes, agree.
Oh, otherwise you're stashing your issues in your tissues.
Oh, I love that, Jen.
You're welcome. I coined that one myself.
Did you really?
Yeah, from when I was a Pilates instructor, which we're about to move into.
Yeah, okay.
But yeah,
Trademark that.
I know.
BRB Jen's writing a little note to trademark.
I completely agree. I think if we're moving, because again, you sit stagnant, you sit on your phone, and we all know how destructive that can be over a day. Whereas if you just get up and move your body,
Yeah.
One of the other things that I really loved learning, and I can't remember it, you taught me this. I was like, I can't remember where I learned it. It was you. Yeah, it was you. Was whatever you do first thing in the morning,
Yeah.
is how your day will be.
Yeah.
So if you get up and you get straight on your phone, all day you will look for distractions.
Absolutely.
If you get up and make your bed, brush your teeth, you'll be productive for the whole day.
Yeah.
If you wake up and then snooze through the day, I told quite a few people this already today. You will snooze all through the day, like you'll be really sleepy. And I was like, I love that.
There's literally evidence about making your bed. And the type of performance that you'll have if you have made your bed.
I never used to make my bed, and every morning now it's like I want it perfect. And, even this morning I was up early and I was still tired. So I actually got up, brushed my teeth, did a couple of things, and then I laid back down. So it almost felt like I wasn't just snoozing.
Yep.
I got up, I was a bit productive, and then was like, I'm going to lay down. If I fall back asleep, and I fell back asleep for like 2 hours.
Yeah.
The kids had a sleep in. It was fucking glorious.
Yeah.
I think I like to, the way you talk about the buffer is the fact that there's nothing that grinds my gears more than people like, you just have to avoid stress. You no, you need to change your relationship with stress.
Yes.
Because stress is always going to come. So that's what you provide, and that thriving ideal is that, okay, well, what is your relationship to this? How can I
also,
buffer myself?
How quickly can you, if you're buffered, how quickly can you move through it?
Yeah.
Or really just calm yourself or respond rather than react to it. It's those things. I've certainly seen, people present on different things, and I think you have no idea.
Yeah.
What do you mean avoid stress? Or stress is in life, and stress is good for us in points too,
And there's people who are in ongoing stressful situations that are just like, cool, so I'm just never going to find peace then. You know what I mean? It's that's so, for them, it's like, well, you've just taken all their hope to say that they need to avoid this.
I think too, it's how we also, as you said, how we deal with it. So I had a massively stressful day last week, and because I've gotten good at everything Ange has taught me with my wellness stuff, I rang my sister and I was like, okay, I'm going to need you to come over and take care of the kids this afternoon. I'm going to go straight, put my swimmers on. I'm going to go straight to Burleigh and do the whole Burleigh walk. And then I'm going to debrief and then I'll be home. And I'm like, if I hadn't have asked for help then, if I hadn't have moved that through my body, the kids would have come home. I would have been an absolute mess.
Yeah.
I would have been exhausted. I would have been pushing the kids through the day. And whereas I got home, they were all happy. Tiff had made pancakes for dinner. Like, so we ate and then
Yeah.
I went to bed and they only saw me as my best self. So it's like, you know, knowing that, okay, well, maybe go out for a walk, move your body, get into sunshine, go to a place that makes you feel
to nature.
Yes.
Yep.
And I was able to come in so that my kids didn't feel that. But so often we don't ask for help. We don't do the things that we know we need. Like, whereas if we actually did that, everything would play out so differently.
Yeah.
And I think sometimes we get caught in, no, I have to go be there for the kids.
Yes.
And, you know, you think you're doing the right thing.
Yeah.
But the right thing is looking after you first
Yes.
so that you can be your best
Yes.
for when you walk in that door.
100%.
Yeah.
Absolutely. So speaking about movement, because one of the other aspects of Ange's world is grit Pilates.
Yes.
So this is something that you were doing before you left your corporate life though, yeah?
It is, yeah. So I've taught Pilates for 7 or 8 years now. So I sort of did 2 jobs, which probably
May have contributed to some of the...
So weird.
who would have thought? Yes. So I've done that for about 7 or 8 years now.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And you've still got that going now.
Yes.
So tell us a little bit about your journey into that. Like what led you to Pilates? Were you looking for a movement that you enjoyed? Like what was your path there?
I used to be really overweight. So I was probably about 30 kilos heavier than what I am now.
What?
You
I
look
could
shocked.
not.
Yeah.
Because I'm always like, every time you talk about fitness, I'm like, fuck, your body's good. Every time.
So I used to be about 30 kilos heavier than what I am now.
No, I'm shocked.
Yeah, I'll show you a before and after.
Shocked.
Yeah. And so that sort of was my whole life, right? Like I was an overweight kid. I was bullied as a kid for being overweight. My nan like raised me or lived with my family. So, you know, nans are like feeders, right?
feeders.
Yeah.
My mum was a chef. So I had no hope in hell,
Yeah.
you know? And then I met Liam and he had a very physically active job. He was like a runner and, you know, doing all this stuff. And so I was like, okay, I've got to keep up with this guy. So I started training and running, and then I got a lot of injuries through running because I wasn't doing it. I was just getting out there with no technique. And then I needed to rehab my knee, and a physio referred me to go to Pilates. And that's how I started. And I just thought, God, this form of movement's phenomenal because it is mindful movement. I'm thinking about my body. I'm focusing on my breath. I'm really helping to understand where my body is in space.
Neuromuscular connection, crossing the midline.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
All of that stuff, I was like, okay, so even if I add other bits of movement to my life, which I do, I love to run, I go do weights, which I don't love, but I know is good for me, but Pilates is always a constant. So that's how I got into Pilates. And whilst it's not the only reason I lost 30 kilos, certainly diet had a huge component of it, but it was the one thing I was consistent with and have been consistent. Lots of meatballs. I probably want to be eating meatballs for breakfast by the time I'm finished with my career. So that's how I got into it. I got referred it and I thought I love this method of movement. And then the reason I trained to do it is because I got fed up going into studios and feeling like I was the odd one out because I wasn't thin enough. I wasn't, you know, the Pilates girl. And I just thought I want to create a space or a class where people can come and feel themselves and feel comfortable to move, because what's most important is that people get moving.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
So you have a in-person studio.
Yes.
But the cool thing that you also have is an online platform, which
Yes.
I actually fucking love. And this is one of my notches I have to do up again because I got really good and then I got my walking mat and then was walking matted all the time and haven't been back on my Pilates. But I never was a floor Pilates person. I do reformer, but it's so hard for me to get to with 3 kids. And then I just stopped doing it. Whereas your platform, it's like that's like 10-minute workouts.
Yeah.
And even doing them every day, I just felt so much stronger. So to be like, 9:00 at night and I'd be like, okay, I've got to do it. It's only 10 minutes.
Yeah.
And that's the full focus with you. It's like, if you've just got 10 minutes, just do 10 minutes. If you've got 10 minutes to go for a walk, do 10-minute walk. Like, don't think I've got to do an hour. And it's training your body. Even for me, I've got to get back into that. It's okay if I'm just on the walking mat for 10 minutes. It's okay. Like, it's just move.
Yeah,
Anything you're doing is better than not doing anything at all.
Yeah, I'm a big one for removing the barrier to move, right?
Yeah.
You know, so many of us are like, I don't have the hour, I can't do it. I can't book into a class. Don't worry. Go walk around the block, do 10 squats, do a 10-minute Pilates class. And it's why I created Group Pilates Online, because I wanted people to have accessible movement at home that was for 10 minutes. They could literally select how long they have. And they can find a workout for that amount of time.
And the also thing that I like with it as well is choosing what body part you want to work. So for me, it's always my stomach and my abs and stuff like that. So I'd be like, oh, I'll do 10 minutes of that, or I'll do arms and then I'll just do 10 minutes of abs at the end. So, and the dumbest thing about this is I have a reformer at home that sits in my garage.
Not even like a basic, like she has a proper legit reformer.
Samara.
Like not like one of those aero Pilates things.
Aldi
She has a studio level.
$2,000 Pilates, $3,000 Pilates machine.
Yeah.
But every time I get on it, I just think, what the fuck am I should be doing right now? And I don't like to watch it because I want to listen to music. So there comes the conundrum. But
I don't think you should be listening to music because I think then you're not connecting to what you're doing. But that's another podcast.
again, I like being told what to do, and I realize when I'm at home on a reformer.
Yeah, you're not being told. Whereas when you're in a class, someone's saying, tilt that, move that,
I'm not
lift
being told
this,
what to do.
legs
Whereas
out.
It's 10 minutes with you, so I don't get, like, I like hearing your voice, and I don't get, like, whereas if I did 45 minutes on the reformer with someone telling me what to do, I'd be like, shut up. Whereas in person, no, because it flies.
Yeah, but if you're listening to,
Yeah. Whereas like 10 minutes with you, I'm like, okay. And then I'm like, I can feel myself almost being done. And then I'm like, you're like, I'm done. And I'm like, oh shit, I actually could do more of that now. That's good to go. So I love the platform. I think it's so good.
Thank you. I'm glad. For me, it's just about making movement accessible because I know what it's like to not have time in your day to get to a class.
And it also helps some people who might have that barrier that they don't want to be going in front of people and doing something. So it gives them that option to have the guidance without going and being in front of people if they're self-conscious.
Yeah, absolutely. You can do it in your pajamas.
Yes.
Like that's the,
That's what I mean.
matter.
Sometimes I
It's
go
the
and have a
best.
shower and then I'm like, oh, fuck, my Pilates. I'll just lay down here and do it right now in my undies.
Yeah.
And that's the thing too. I started doing it with the girls and I was sending you photos. I was like,
loved
we're
that.
all doing Pilates right
So
now, Ange,
good.
just so you know.
The amount of videos I get from people and their like daughters are doing it or, you know, it's so
The
nice.
girls love it. They come in
Yeah.
and they're like, can we do it with you? I'm like, no, this is my time. Get out. But they love it. They think it's the coolest. Or Wild will be like driving Tonka trucks over me while I'm doing it, but then I'm still down on the mat with
Just
him
a
at
little
home.
bit of extra resistance.
That's right.
Yeah.
That's what I say. Chuck them on.
A little bit of extra resistance. Have you met Wilder?
Focus word extra.
Yeah. But then, I'm still being present with them and they see me moving my body too, which I think is really important.
Yeah.
It's a great example, right, for them to see that. Yeah.
Yeah. Love it.
Amazing. So what else do we need to cover?
I think we're good.
Yeah. Are we going to discuss the giveaway for Ange's platform or the fact that you can do a 7-day free trial?
Let's do both. Ange, go.
Okay, so when you sign up to gritonline.com.au, you get a 7-day free trial. So you can give it a go and there's no obligation. So if you know,
it's also, guys, super stupidly affordable. Like the
Yes.
platform is really affordable. It's not like you're like, oh, I can't commit to that.
$19.99 a month.
Yep. $19.99, $20 a month. That's nothing.
$5 a week.
$5 a week.
Yes, less
so
than a
it's
coffee.
not like you're like, oh, I don't want to commit to this in case. Like, because for me, even like I can buy stuff like passes and stuff, and then I'm like, oh fuck, I didn't get a chance to go. Whereas $5, even if you just did one, it would be worth it.
It's worth it. Exactly. So you get a 7-day free trial.
Yeah.
But why don't we do a giveaway?
Let's.
For you guys.
Love a giveaway.
What about a year free?
Yes.
For a year?
Oh, okay. So what are we going to have to do? What's someone got to do? Is it like our page, like your page? Share
friend.
type. Tag a friend.
Tag a friend.
Yep.
Great. Yeah. Tag a friend.
We will do a post that is
Yep.
collaborative.
Yep.
Collaborative.
Thanks. That was a big word today. And you have to tag a friend and then like both pages.
Yeah. Perfect.
Love.
Oh, that's a great way to finish.
To who? The person and the friend. We'll do 2. Oh, I'm feeling generous today, guys.
That's
Whoever the friend is
amazing.
you tag. Every tag is an entry.
So you and a friend
Yeah.
potentially have a year's worth of free Grit Pilates. Just you're welcome.
You're welcome. I love when people give us free
Yes.
shit. This is best. If you're a guest, bring us free shit.
He's the president.
Yeah.
That is amazing, Ange.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
I love that conversation.
Yeah, thank you so much for being so open about your journey as well.
Yeah,
We're
agreed.
really grateful.
I think the more we share this stuff, the more people feel like they're heard if they've gone
Agreed.
through it.
Oh, 100%. Yay. Thanks for joining us, Ange. Thanks for keeping us accountable. And
We'll see you soon.
we'll see everybody soon. Thanks, guys. Bye.
Ozday is showing the love to Salon Rising listeners with some incredible offers. Head to ozday.com/salonrising and find out how Kevin Murphy and Ozday can help your business rise.